Johnson. Let's talk about the Labour leadership, because Emily is here. Emily, you're the only contender who isn't yet guaranteed a spot on the final ballot. Why not? Why aren't you cutting through?
I don't know. I mean, I go around the country. I have some great meetings. I've met some really interesting people and I'm learning a great deal. And I think people are pleased to see me. Because they want to talk. You know, they want to talk about what's happened in the general election and why they feel that in their community we didn't cut through. And I'm learning a huge amount, and I'm very grateful to people for their time.
Do you think you will make it? By Friday is the sort of cut-off point. You've got to have 33 constituency Labour Party nominations. You've got 22, I think. I don't know whether that's a big mountain to climb or not, really. Will you make it?
Well, I think what I'm asking people to do is to not think in terms of who's going to take us to the left or who's going to take us to the right, but who's the best candidate and who's going to take us forward. And given that I've been a MP for 15 years and I've done 7 front bench jobs and I've done Prime Minister's questions and I've held Boris Johnson to account for a couple of years, I think that I'm quite a good candidate, and I would obviously love to be on the ballot. And to broaden the debate, I'm the only one with foreign policy experience or for security experience, and I think that's quite an important part of the debate in the Labour Party.
Well, you're right. You are the most experienced candidate in the way that you have just set out. You are the Shadow Foreign Secretary. In a way, you should be storming ahead, and yet you're behind the other 3.
Well, I mean, you'd have to ask the party. I mean, I don't know. I mean, all I can do is what I'm doing. So I'm getting about. I'm putting forward my case. I'm meeting as many people as I can.
Emily,
and it'll be up to the party to decide.
You've made quite a lot of the fact that you've gone head-to-head with Boris Johnson in the way the other candidates haven't. I'm really intrigued to know what it is you think that you do at the dispatch box that you think was so good at holding him to account.
So I think the thing is, so he's a clown. All right? If you could just keep quiet for a minute. He's a clown, and he's a liar, and he's superficial, and
you think you're at the dispatch box now, don't you?
And I'm just saying, right, is that in order to take on someone like that, you don't be a clown, but you have to be light on your feet, you have to be able to be on top of the detail, and you have to have a kind of a personality as well.
Right.
And the 2 years that I was, and the 2 years that I was taking him on, he did. I mean, whenever we had urgent questions, he would never do it because that was always the time when he had an option to run away.
Well,
let me send a junior minister
let Neil
instead.
respond.
And he knows of all the people that would take him on at the dispatch box.
He fears you most.
He has a woman problem. I mean, and the woman is me.
Right, OK. Is a liar and a clown, and he's got a woman problem.
We just saw some part of the problem there on display is very aggressive personal attacks rather than actual substance. But no, look, I've been really surprised in the Labour leadership contest how everyone has been running, saying, you know, I'm going to take on Jeremy Corbyn's legacy. He's been great. If I was a Labour MP, I'd be trying to get as far away from Jeremy Corbyn's legacy, which has led them to this absolutely mammoth election defeat.
But you're not a Labour MP.
I don't understand why they're all queuing up to be the next Jeremy Corbyn. He's a complete disaster.
There's only one candidate who's really saying
a few of them. Even Keir Starmer's video goes on about what a working-class hero is and how left-wing he is.
I think Emily's credit was didn't give him 10 out of 10 when asked that question.
I gave him 10 out of 10 for speaking from the heart. I gave him 10 out of 10 for being authentic and for bringing enthusiasm into the Labour Party, but 0 out of 10 for winning elections because we didn't win the elections.
You say it's not a question of moving left or right. I suggest it probably is. After the 2005 general election Tory drubbing, Lord Ashcroft wrote his book Smell the Coffee, and it was a very forensic account of all the reasons why the Tories were unpopular and which voters they'd lost. He's done the same for Labour. He's published his report today. He's interviewed thousands of people who used to vote Labour but didn't at the last election. He's interviewed Labour members and indeed general public, done focus groups. It's a very detailed report. It does say that fundamentally the most common reason cited for a former Labour voter not voting Labour in 2019 was because they didn't want Jeremy Corbyn to be Prime Minister. And then it goes into some detail about the way in which the manifesto was treated with absolute derision among even many of your own voters. So there was a huge issue of policy. Brexit is in the mix, but the offering, that left-wing offering, is not where the party ought to be if it's ever going to win again. And the difficulty is that all those vying to take the helm of the party have to appeal to a membership which thinks it absolutely was the right manifesto.
I think that the British way is that we believe in a safety net and we believe in looking after one another. And I think no matter which way people voted, they are disgusted that there are entire families who fall through the safety net and end up in food banks, or individuals who end up sleeping on the street. And I think, first of all...
Wait, hang on.
Wait. And that we need to have that safety net knitted back together again, and we have slid to the right in the last 10 years, and we need to fix that. Number one. And number two, and I will be brief, but let me just finish, is for us to be a party of opportunity, and whether that is about education or whether that is about a fundamental change to our economy in order to ensure that actually we are putting investment into HS3, we are making sure that we have infrastructure around so that areas that have been stripped out of jobs get those jobs back, so that there is proper opportunities up and down the country.
But Emily, what's the difference between you and Keir Starmer? I mean, in many ways, you are both saying the same sorts of things. You're both lawyers, you're both London MPs, you've both served on the shadow cabinet. Why is he doing so much better?
I mean, honestly, I'm not a commentator, I'm a player. You know, I mean, I think it's not fair for me to be asked, you know, oh, well, let's do an analysis of this. I'm in this competition. Sure. I'm asking people for their support.
Okay.
And I'm putting myself forward as the best candidate and the most experienced candidate. There are differences in terms of policy. I mean, I have, for example, I am passionate, frankly, about housing. I think that it is a disgrace that there is land banking. I think that it is disgusting that we have empty flats and we have people and we have a housing crisis. I would, for example, have a policy of you either use that land or you lose that land. You either live in that flat or you lose that flat.
All right.
I think that's probably,
well, that's
for
part
example,
of your policy,
a big difference.
All right, well, that's part of your policy platform.
But
But Christian mentioned the Lord Ashcroft report into what went wrong. People were asked, Labour voters, former Labour voters, for words that they would attach to the Labour leadership contenders. And the words they chose for you were arrogant and smug, whereas for Keir Starmer, they chose competent and potential election winner. Why the difference?
Well, I think it's interesting how if someone sounds like me and is a man, they're not posh, but if they sound like me and they're a woman, they are. And they're always really surprised when they hear I come from a council estate and that I went to a secondary modern and that I was brought up by a single parent. But I am successful, I did do well, I was very lucky, but I don't apologise for that, and neither does the Labour Party, because we are a party of opportunity.
Why is there the difference between...
I mean, to me, it's just really clear there just is sexism amongst people when they're looking for a leader, which I think is something that Emily is probably suffering from. Some of these attributes that are being attached to her do seem rather unfair. I mean, I would say Emily's much more, has a lot more charisma than Keir Starmer, even if maybe on the policy platforms you might be able to locate them in the same place. So for her to be posh, I mean, I don't really quite get it. I mean, I think Keir and you come from relatively similar backgrounds, in that you've sort of brought yourselves up. You've trained to be lawyers, and then you've gone through the legal system together. I mean, do you not think it's sexism?
I mean, as I say, it's not. You know, I am who I am, and all I can do is argue my case.
Female leaders always suffer from this.
And you know, and I'm obviously, as I say, I'm the most experienced of the candidates, and I think that's important. And I think that I do come ready-made, and I am ready to go.
All right.
And
so
if they want to have a leader,
yes,
that
you'll
can
make it
take
on Friday. You'll make it through, or no?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, it's going to be tight, but yeah.
On that, bye bye.